This podcast was created by fans for fans and is not affiliated with or sponsored by Hallmark or the Hallmark Channel. This is Eric.
This is Sydney.
And this is Hallmark Mysteries.
And more.
Woohoo! Well, this is a very, very happy voice to hear again, finally. Hello, Sydney.
Hello, Eric, or should I say bonjour, cheerio.
Yes, both of them. You're very British and very French. Very
Yeah,
continental.
so confusing.
So I have missed you.
Oh my God.
A
You're
lot was
lying.
happening while you were gone. A lot
Yeah,
happened.
a lot did happen, and I'm very annoyed. You had all these great people that you interviewed while I was gone. I was very jealous. Every time I looked at my phone, you were like talking to a new awesome person.
Yes.
And I'm also very happy for you that you
I know
had all that fun.
Will Kent, Madison Smith, and Skylar Samuels.
Yeah.
So I know
Trifecta.
all I have to say is next time maybe you just really have to like call Hallmark, say, listen, I'm planning a trip. Please don't schedule any movies in this window because you did go right when
Oh,
two
seriously?
big ones launch.
Ugh.
I know where your priorities are.
Yeah, they're in Paris.
Well, me say, I've missed you and I'm glad you're back.
Oh, I missed you too. I'm glad to be here.
And you got to now enjoy our nice little disclaimer for because we are so legit now that that Hallmark doesn't want us to be confused with them.
Yeah.
So
Enjoy.
we are just fans like everyone else. We are not
Just fans.
Hallmark Channel. So maybe we don't need the DMs yelling at us about canceling shows anymore.
There you go. That's true. Okay, have this disclaimer everywhere. The minute we get a DM like that, this is like an auto message that goes out.
Yes. So I would love not to have Mystery 101 canceled myself. Unfortunately, I really have no say in the matter.
Seriously. So. But boy, they keep playing that. They're playing it again, aren't they?
So yes, they just did the 7. Or was it? Yeah, wasn't it this past weekend they did all 7?
I think it was Sunday. Yeah.
Sunday. I was out enjoying the day. I did not watch it for the 17th time.
That's okay. You don't need to cry again. Don't worry.
Or do as everyone does now with episode 7, just stop it 2 minutes to go and just hit stop. Don't play that final cliffhanger.
Okay. There you go.
Okay. All right. What are we going to talk about today?
We are going to talk about Aurora Teagarden, something new. Maybe this is the first Aurora Teagarden you saw or you actively wanted to see right away.
I will say from the original series, I thought the first episode was actually pretty good and I was surprised. By the second episode, I was like, okay, this is trash, and it just never got better.
Well, hopefully you feel differently this time around. But
we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. So I'll just give you a little Hallmark synopsis on this movie. So young Aurora Teagarden returns home to Lawrencetown after college to pursue her post-grad degree and finds herself embroiled in a mystery involving her friend Sally's fiancé, starring Skylar Samuels, Evan Roderick, and Mary Lou Henner.
And that fiancé was Madison Smith, who we talked to.
Yes, shout out. And for this lovely movie, I know you have a cocktail, Eric.
We do. We have the Killer Thesis because, as you know, Aurora was back working on that thesis. I did watch the show with my daughter who finished grad school about a year ago. And when she said like, oh yeah, you're in your second year now and you got to start working your thesis. She's like, what? You're already working? And totally was
There you
critiquing
go.
it's Lawrencetown, right?
Yeah.
Lawrencetown College's graduate program for letting Aurora get that far along in her program without having her thesis, but neither here nor there. Okay. So the Killer Thesis. What is in it? You're going to take a cinnamon and sugar mix and rim the glass. Yum, yum, yum. And then you're going to use 1.5 ounces of spiced rum, 1 ounce of freshly squeezed lemon juice, 3/4 of an ounce of orange curacao, 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, some ice, and an orange twist for garnish. And like everything I make, you put all the ingredients into a shaker, shake it all around, and then pour it into a nice little martini glass. So sounds like a very
Nice.
Aurora and Sally drink when they go out on girls' night.
Yeah. Did you say orange a lot? I mean, I think that goes with Aurora's hair. It's
Yes, it
very
does.
keeping with her hair. Yeah.
So speaking of which is interesting. So I decided to bust into the first of the books of the Aurora Teagarden Mysteries. And in the book, Aurora is short. She's like 4'10.5" with brown hair and big round glasses. So I don't know
Oh,
where the red
really?
hair came from. If that like, I don't know, but
You know,
she's definitely a red-haired person in the movies.
yeah, maybe that it's so it's written by Charlene Harris, who did
Right.
True Blood. There's like a really prominent red-haired character on that, and I almost feel like maybe she comes in and consults and she's like, you know what, I like red hair.
Let's switch it up. Forget that book.
Yeah. Get some red hair in there. Maybe she doesn't. I almost wonder if she has red hair though. I
I don't
I,
know.
I kind of thought she did, like a little bit of a dark auburn or something, but maybe I'm wrong.
Do you know when these books were written by chance?
I don't.
I'm going to do a little Google search while we are just talking. So talk amongst yourself for a second.
Do 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 do.
All right. So published 1990. Okay.
1990.
So the reason why I was wondering about when this book was printed is I was wondering if it was a little bit before some social consciousness. Because as I'm reading the book, there's one little line, 2 lines in there that Aurora is like, turns on TV and she's like so happy because there's some news that's going on. And she makes this comment. They're talking about the election that's taking place there. And she's like, and this one, I was happy because this promised to be a unifying election because there were no Black candidates running to create divisiveness. And I,
No, it doesn't say
yes,
that.
I'm paraphrasing it a little bit, but that's pretty much where it was unifying and divisive because of no Black candidates. And I was like, huh, definitely does not seem contemporary now.
Well, maybe that's Aurora's character.
And so that's what I'm wondering, if there's like an inherent, like I haven't finished it. I haven't gotten through any of the other books. We have Brooke Peterson, who we follow each other on Instagram, and she's very much into the mystery. So I've reached out because I'm sure she's read all these, and I want to get a little more insight into the books
Yeah.
and see, because it takes place in outside of Atlanta, so it's the South too. So I just found it very interesting because I don't think that line would be written in 2000 2020s, 2000s, let's just say 2000s.
Well, unless she's trying to articulate the character is that way,
Yeah, like
that's their
wouldn't.
personality.
All right, so Aurora's a racist.
Well, we're glad that she is not
Yes.
in these
Well, she, like I say, there's
movies.
nothing else in fact, it's very interesting because it's been really enjoyable in the book. What's interesting too is unlike the other ones that we read, that the Murder She Baked, the Hannah, the Hannah Swensons, the Curious
Mhm.
Caters, where they really just take a little bit of the book and then make the whole mystery out of it that doesn't really have anything to do with it. The
Yeah.
Aurora Teagarden really did follow the book, so far pretty closely.
Oh,
So
good.
it's been interesting there. And the funny
Yeah.
thing is that even though I've seen the Aurora Teagardens, because she did a good job describing her, um, I don't I don't have Candace or Skylar pop into my head. I have this little short, brown haired, kind of mousy-ish looking librarian. So
Mm,
kind of interesting. You think you'd
yeah.
immediately go to the one of the movie characters, but I haven't. Power, the power of the word, Sydney, the power of the word. All right, are we ready to get talking about the movie and forget the books?
Yes. Let's do
Okay.
it.
All right. So Aurora Teagarden, something new.
Something new.
What is something that you liked about this?
I really enjoyed Skylar Samuels as Aurora. I think she definitely captured how enamored Aurora is with mysteries and like inserting herself in mysteries in like an unassuming way that I didn't find annoying, which I feel like sometimes in the older Aurora movies, like she kind of inserted herself and it was a lot more annoying. Now, I don't know if they're supposed to get more annoying as it progresses in life because she keeps inserting herself, but it seemed very unassuming and I liked it. And I loved Evan Roderick because he sounded just like Peter Benson. If I closed my eyes, I was hearing Peter Benson. If I opened them, I was like, he doesn't look like Arthur. But he must have like studied that because he had that general inflection going and I really appreciated that because it sounded really great.
Interesting you say that
It,
because I've been on this one following a lot of social media. I've followed a couple different Facebook groups, Twitter, Instagram, obviously, Reddit. And I've seen a couple people make that comment that he just had the mannerisms, he had the voice down, just like you said. And
yeah.
so a lot of people have appreciated his effort in reflecting the Peter Benson character.
Yeah.
Um,
He did a great job.
Now, so you're talking about how you like Skylar and it didn't annoy you. There's a lot of people, once again, as I followed social, who have had a big problem with just the entire casting. We've had some people who have been saying, couldn't they just have used the whole cast and had Skylar? So I'm like, yeah, I don't think having a 50-year-old Sally coupled with a 29-year-old Skylar, like Lexa, as much as we like her, which ironically in the book, Sally really is late 40s compared. Um uh she's not Aurora's BFF. She is an older woman who her son went to high school with Aurora. So they did do a little bit
Oh,
of switch there with the book. Um
yeah.
but did so you said Skylar didn't annoy you having a new character there. How about
Yeah.
the other? Did you do okay with
So
Sally?
Kayla Heller, I think she did a good updated version of Sally. I didn't think that the former Sally kind of came off as super clueless, like to the point where sometimes we're like, okay, like you always heard Aurora going like Sally, you know, because she was a journalist, but she was always like and this time it felt like Sally came off as she still had that kind of like, he hem and haw type of candidness, but the way it came off for me was more like naive. Like she's young, so it's passable and it makes sense. She's young and she's in love. You know, I like enjoyed that version of Sally, because sometimes the older version of Sally was like, it was just a little bit unbelievable that she had a job, and she, you know, because she was how was she holding it down?
Too funny. So as you bring up an interesting point, and I posted this on our Instagram, is like you said, she's the younger version. She's, you know, Sally finding love for the first time, and all that. So I also very much enjoyed the Arthur. I thought Arthur was fantastic. I thought Skylar unbelievably good,
Yeah.
unbelievably great. It totally erased all of the CCB Aurora Teagarden from me. And as you know, my main thing is and we've debated this before, I just don't find Candace that great of an actress. I watched, because I was like, okay, I watched, you know, something new, so I've got to watch something old. And I don't know which one came on because they were airing them, you know, on the
Yeah.
weekend. So I watched one of them, about, I don't know, half of it. And she just, and it was one of the later ones. It was when Now Matter she first gets introduced.
Okay.
And half the time she just feels like she's like reading. She doesn't sound like she's talking. She just
Yeah.
comes across like reading. So that's like my main problem is with it. But Skylar, I thought was fantastic. And as you mentioned too, one of the things I have in my notes here, what I really liked about it is she didn't seem to be that medley, like you say, put your nose in it. Everything that happened, like she would come across something, and yes, she was being, you know, a little bit snoopy, but every
Yeah.
step of the way, she would then call, you know, Arthur and
Arthur.
say, hey, this is what I found, or, you know, boom, I got to do. And so everything she was doing was involving. She was never, you know, and that's one of the annoying things. And you know, we can talk about a lot of the mysteries where they kind of, I'm not going to tell the policeman, I'm going to just do this on my own. But
Yeah.
she really did it. And so, to your point, I found her character very believable. She was someone like, hey, I kind of have somewhat of an interest in this. I kind of am smart and pretty good at deducing, but at the same time, I'm not a cop. Arthur is. I'm going to, you know, involve them. I really like that. And one of the thing I got from this was I got a lot of like Mystery 101 vibe. It just had that
Mm.
feel where it was, and I think it's because like Amy, she's never trying to, you know, show up uh Travis, right? They're working
Yeah.
sort of together. And that's, and the other thing, the other reason why I kind of got that vibe was the killer wasn't necessarily a bad person. They were put in this
Yeah.
position where they just felt they didn't have it. And that's kind of, you know, when we
Hmm.
talked to John Christian Plummer, kind of how he likes to formulate his bad guys is,
Hmm.
yeah, they did something bad, but they're not inherently bad. So I just, and she wasn't, Skylar also, you know, there were like little lines in there that there was some, you know, humor, but it wasn't quirky, right? She wasn't
Hmm.
silly, so to speak. And once again, that's just, I just got a lot of Mystery 101 vibe. And I think if you're a Mystery 101 fan and you would accept, hey, I may like another mystery, which some,
Yeah.
you know, some are not ready for it. But I really think if you're a Mystery 101 fan, you probably would enjoy this one. And then
Yeah.
something else you didn't mention, there was this guy in there. He was the detective, right?
You know what?
I can't remember
Thank
his
you
name
for
though.
thank you for this lead in. Thank you. So Steve was that the haughty hard cop mentor, and I appreciated that angle. I haven't seen him like that before, and it was great.
I
I was
agree.
I was into it.
He definitely had that role. Like you just look at him, he looked like a grizzled detective. But
Yeah,
he wasn't
like
like he wasn't an a-hole about it, right? But he definitely
no.
was I mean, business, and you know, we're going. It's not a, hey, I'm a silly, um, I'm a silly, incompetent detective.
Yeah.
I thought they
He
did a great
listened
job
to
with him.
Arthur. Yeah, he listened to Arthur, and what that scene in the beginning where where he's talking to him and he sits down at the desk, and then he gets up and he's like, clean your desk up, and you thought it was his desk, but it's really Arthur's. He puts his feet up and everything. I'm just like, oh my god. But I do want to say, like, that was interesting. And on the flip side, I really enjoyed Aurora's mentor relationship with her professor. Like, I'd like to see more of that, if hopefully we get more.
Um, I will say I also thought Aurora she was super cute. Like I thought she was the way, and we'll talk about it later, but like the way they dressed her, her hair, just her mannerisms. I just thought she came across just so likable, which was great.
Yeah.
And plus, she, I can't say necessarily the side eye, but she was definitely good at giving the looks because when Sally, was going on and on, like, oh, he can never do bad, this, that, and the other, she was like, really? And sort of giving the
Mm-hmm.
looks, or sometimes when Matt did something, she gave the look. So she was pretty good at giving that quasi
That
side eye
look.
too. I like
Yeah.
that. So, but yeah,
Agreed.
I'm speaking of Matt, our friend Madison. He still hasn't given us Steve Basic's cell phone for you yet, so you can like
Oh
start
my
texting. We'll have to
god.
get on him, say, "What's going on? Sydney's back in the country.
Yeah.
We need Steve's cell phone."
We need to talk to him about
So
important things, like what hair products does he use to get that look?
I think it's like W40 or whatever, WD-40.
No, it's not.
I think he just goes out to the car, unscrews the oil thing, gets a little bit in the palm,
Oh
slicks it back
gosh.
in the hair.
Good looking
So,
man.
all right. So there's one other thing that I
Okay.
really liked in this movie. Um, I reached out to our friends over the podcast is technically romance, and
Oh,
Hamilton over there. He really gets into the technical aspect of the movies and the lighting and cinematography,
yeah.
and all that sort of stuff. And this movie just really had a different feel than a lot of other mysteries. Like the lighting on it, they did a lot of, and I don't know what it's called, but it's when basically you come in with the key light, which is the main light on the one side, and the fill light that's supposed to get rid of the shadows on the other side. Either it was very muted or they didn't have it, so it kind of left half the face, um, shadowed, and creates a very dramatic look. And then just the
Yeah.
cinematography, and Skylar mentioned this, like with the cameras that they used. And, when she said it, I was like, okay, whatever. But it was really, I thought, noticeable that it had like sort of a soft feel throughout the
Mm-hmm.
entire movie. So I thought the cinematography and the lighting in this were just absolutely fantastic and not very hallmarky, which I think tends to overlight things.
Yeah,
So, but
I
yeah,
agree.
so
It looked great.
all right. Now moving on. Was there anything maybe that you didn't particularly like about something new? Was there something bad?
Oh, oh no. Okay. Yeah. So I found that the character timeline was a tad confusing. I kept trying to think about like how old Aurora would have been in school and if texting and blogging was a thing. And then they mentioned like the Lacey Peterson case. And I was like, where, what, and then also the wardrobe choices for the time. But I stopped thinking about it because I just wasn't I ended up
It
thinking like I don't think this is worth delving into
was
because
2008.
you saw it said
Yeah,
it.
they started out with that.
Oh,
And then also
nice.
Skylar told me, you know what? You still
Okay.
you had a little jet lag. You're forgiven.
I
But it was
I did.
2008.
Okay. All right. Well, then I probably would have said like some of those wardrobe choices were not 2008. They're more modern, I think. But Like either way, it looked good. I wouldn't have wanted her in a chunky necklace and a big belt and a hobo bag. So, 2008, that's the stuff that Erica Durance was wearing during the wedding planner,
The big shoes. I was
So,
talking to my wife
yeah.
about that. So way back when, I forget what they're called, like Aldo's or something like that,
Yeah.
shoes.
Aldo's,
She
yeah.
she used to love these shoes. They were like, just like you said, chunky shoes. And I always hated them. Ugh. I was so glad when she finally stopped buying those shoes.
Oh, well, yeah, they went out of style, thank goodness. And they didn't make a reappearance in this movie, so that's good.
Though I don't know, Sally did have, like Skylar talked about too. But Sally had those like wedge sneakers. And then at the very beginning, they weren't necessarily, I guess, clunky, but it was that like boot that Skylar was wearing at the beginning that I noticed. I paid
Yeah,
attention
she
mostly
still
to a lot of
looked
this.
good.
Oh yeah, she looked fantastic. And I've got some of the outfits, but I did pay attention to some of those things I probably would normally go over my head, only because
Yeah.
both Madison and Skylar had pointed them out.
Yeah, it was a little bit there that I was like, I don't know about. But I kind of, another thing is, I laughed and also cried on the inside when Sally was comparing Ro finding her lost cat to needing to find her lost groom. I was like, and nobody flinched and nobody laughed when she said it. Like, I would have been like, okay, that's not really the same thing, but sure.
Well, you watched 17 episodes of Aurora Teagarden, so maybe that's just Sally, and so they're so used to it by now that they don't even bat an eye. I don't know.
True. Oh my God. And okay, Dawn Palmer, the most annoying character on the planet, terrible, terribly dressed, just all
She's
around
a
terrible.
stalker.
I
Is she
know, but
supposed
if
to be
she's,
all like
but this is
fashionably
what I
dressed and great hair and
No, no, no. But
stalker?
I don't get that. If she's this much of a stalker, why does no one have a restraining order against her? And why hasn't Matt let his fiance know about her? Because she clearly is like delusional and it's very awkward and weird. I mean,
And how
that,
does Sally, like up until this point, never see her? Because
I mean,
she's
I'd
Aurora
actually
saw her
believe
within like two
that. So
minutes, walking out to go tell him something, and she's just standing across the street staring in.
I know, but this is very Sally. That's
So,
very not to
so yeah,
notice.
Sally probably like had lunch with her and was clueless.
Yeah. And also like the Aida having like no confidence in herself about like selling houses and stuff. That was a weird thing for me. Like usually we see her and she's very like she can do anything, but
Right.
in this light she was all like, I don't know. And I was like not into that,
I
It
I had
didn't
that
it
as
didn't
well.
fit.
I
Okay.
agree. I I don't know. I understand she was starting her agency, and but it just, yeah, Mary Lou just does not portray vulnerability, right?
Right.
You just look at her, she just comes across strong. And I don't want to say, oh, it limits her um acting ability. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think we're just so ingrained to see Mary Lou as a strong, confident woman
Yeah.
that it just, yeah, I just couldn't handle, like, whatever. Did it bother you though that she's the same age as she was, in episode 17 as she is now in Something New, going back to when Aurora is just starting? Did you have any issue with that?
No, because I
Mm.
feel like she looks like a mom. I don't know.
Yeah,
I feel like they
she's an
dressed
attractive mom.
her, yeah, they dressed her a little bit differently in the sense that like she wasn't wearing her power suits and that sort of thing, which I miss her power suits. I think those are more interesting, but and I feel like her hair was a little bit different in this too. Like maybe in
It
the
was
other
so
ones it was a little
2008.
more softer. Yeah, she needs it to be a bit more softer. because it was a little bit more severe in this. But other than that, you know, what
It was a
about you?
shame.
Is there
Yeah, so I agreed. I had like as well as Aida. How do you pronounce Ada? Is how you
Aida?
pronounce Aida? That I didn't like how they had her be so insecure. I just didn't think it fit. Um, but also there seemed to be some like inconsistencies throughout that I just like I'm like, wait, what? There was like one where Matt said he had, when he Aurora was in there looking at his computer and he snuck up behind her and he's like, "Oh, I thought
Yeah.
you were Dawn." He's like, and she's like, where are you? Where have you been? Why haven't you talked to me? He's like, why? What's going on? She's like, well, there's a dead body, and he was like, there is what? I don't know what's going on, you know? And then later he's telling when he's doing his little, hey, this is what happened. He's saying, I was in the hotel room and then I saw the news and I knew that I would be a suspect. So I was laying low. So I was like, which one is it? And he was also in the hotel room for 2 days, but it seemed like it was one day. Like when you're
Yeah.
talking about the internal timeline in the movie, just seemed to kind of be a little bit confusing there.
Weird. Yeah.
So another thing, and once again, this is petty, it's Hallmark, so should we get bothered? Probably not, but for some reason it annoyed me. There was the scene, and I guess they had to do it right for the scene, but it was like when Aurora's going out to the car to grab the stuff, and Sally's like, "Oh, it's cold. Here, put on my coat." So Sally
Uh,
puts on the coat, throws on the hood as if it's going out into the frozen tundra, and then she grabs stuff and then she's about to get run over and she just freezes, which maybe you would do out of panic, and then the handsome Daniel Cook guy comes running out and
yeah.
saves her, but he's like just in his like regular old shirt with the sleeves rolled up, and then Arthur comes
Uh-huh.
running out and he's just in like a regular light thing, and as they all assemble, nobody else seems to be cold or anything. So, and then they, all are just talking afterwards. And I'm like, if you're like, it's so cold, shouldn't you guys like gone inside, or shouldn't someone be like
Yeah.
kind of shivery that Aurora needed to bundle? Like I say, I guess they probably needed to do it so she would look like Sally and purposely get run over. So it was a plot
Well,
move, but it was just
that
one of those things
was
that was silly.
that was when he had the opportunity then to put his coat on her.
Yeah.
So they were trying
Cause
to still keep with the cold weather for
Because
her.
Sally runs out there and is like, "Give me my coat back." Geez, Sally,
Yeah.
nice friend. But yeah, um,
Oh, Sally.
oh,
God.
oh, Sally. But yeah, so there just seemed to be um some weird little inconsistencies that weren't weren't great.
Yeah.
So, and another one that kind of bugged me was at the end, and like I said, I very much liked it, but at the end, when Roe goes bursting into the room and like shoves Carson aside to basically say, "Hey, Carson's a murderer with Matt."
Yeah.
Like, wouldn't she be like, "Uh-oh, Carson's in here, maybe not." Like, it just was a
I would
weird,
have, yes, I
like,
would have been
Sally,
like, why are you here?
I need to talk to you or something. It just was a very weird um, thing that didn't seem to fit, because once again, Aurora seemed to be very thoughtful, and it just didn't seem very or new Aurora-ish to do something
Yeah.
like that. So
No, and also it just didn't like the first thing, if I were to come in the door, I would have been like, why is he here? Is he trying to scam on you? Like, is there some secret happening right now?
yeah,
Are you with a business partner?
but
I
I
don't
don't know.
know.
And then my last one I'll say is, why you like Sally, I'm still a little bit unsure, because
Oh yeah,
she
I
had
get
her
that.
love goggles on hard, where I think most people would maybe get a little chink in the armor, and maybe kudos to her for being so unwavering, but she just did seem to be a little too overly naive about the whole
Yeah.
thing. So
Well,
I don't know.
sometimes people are like that when they're in love. They're a little bit blinded.
Yes, my roommate who married the Hermes
Ugh.
Chandler,
Don't
he
get
was
me started on the Sedona Rock lady, okay?
he was blinded. We were all telling him, no, no, no. He was blinded, so it happens. Love can do that to you. Now she didn't kill
Oh,
anybody, so
she just showed
well,
you crystals.
not that I know of. Maybe she did.
Oh
She did wear
no.
black a lot,
Hmm.
but all right. So that was it. Like I said, but most of the things that I didn't like there, I'll say, were kind of necessary, kind of nitpicky.
Yeah.
Um, there weren't anything that were real big things that made me dislike it because I think overall I very much enjoyed the movie. Very much
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Me too.
All right. Speaking of the mystery, what did you when did you figure it out?
So I kind of knew who it was right away. Well, not right away, but like I think it was like a third of the way through. And it was just the way they framed it. They framed certain scenes that lingered on the person. And I was like, okay, I kind of think it's that person, but I didn't know why.
Gotcha.
Like I couldn't understand yet. I mean, overall, I think the mystery was pretty good. And I think the premise was really understandable and interesting. I mean, there were a lot of moving parts, but that didn't really bother me. It was just kind of like necessary distraction. The the only thing that bothered me, and I'm sure you have this on your end too, was when they're trying to break into Matt's apartment and he's got all this like on his front door with the codes and all that. But all she had to do was sneak over the balcony and the door was open in the backside.
I did
I'm like,
not have
what?
that.
Well, for a Mr. I was like, wait a minute. He put all this effort into his front door and his back door is unlocked.
Yeah.
That's,
But that was a great oh no, that I did not have that on my thing. And you know what? Thanks for ruining it for me because I actually thought it was a really cute one where it's like, I'm going to do some entering, but no breaking. And then she breaks. But and then Arthur's about to bust down the door and she just opens it.
I
Classic.
know that was
Classic.
cute.
No, that one didn't bother me.
Okay. Well, and
What's
then
sorry.
what?
So what's
Sorry.
interesting is so when you said you had figured out the third, I watched it with my daughter and she was pretty early on saying it was Kara, right? I think her name was.
Yeah, yeah.
She was Kara. I'm like, no, 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 it's the partner. The partner's the bad guy.
Oh
And
yeah.
the thing that I kind of liked about the mystery was once again going back to those mystery 101 vibes is a lot of people, and once again following on social, a lot of people are like, yep, it's Kara. Like I was following the live tweets and people were
Oh,
like
okay.
pretty early on saying, Kara, nope, don't trust her. It's going to be her.
Oh,
And then other people were also saying the business partner, which was what I was thinking. But the thing I liked is I found it like a nice little twist at the end where, okay, yeah, it is Kara, but at the same time, that the business partner and Matt still were
yeah.
guilty and they still had done their crime earlier. And I found that as kind of a fun little twist because I kept in my mind thinking, nope, Matt's going to get cleared. He's going
Yeah.
to turn out because it was so obvious, like, oh, he did something bad that I was just expecting it to be, nope, he's going to be good because they set him up to be, have done a bad thing. And the business
Yeah.
partner, I thought that was too obvious that by, later on, I'm like, okay, it's going to have to be, nope, not him. Because I was like the dancing detective. I actually got my wife to watch that one, which was, Act of Congress there, but that's how bored she was. But she, when I was watching it, she was like, oh, it's the wife. I'm like, no, 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 it can't be the wife. It's got to be Barbara because every other character is so obvious that it can't be the obvious one. And Barbara's the only extra person, they give,
Uh-huh.
like you're saying, how they gave the framing with Kara. But that was like with Barbara, it's like, who is this throwaway character? She's got to have a purpose. And
Yeah.
so that's what, you figured it out. But going back to the Mystery 101 vibe. So even though I think, figured out who it was, because I figured out, quickly. I shouldn't say quickly. I was about halfway through when I was finally like, oh, it's not going to be the business partners. You're right, Emma. It's Kara. Like Mystery 101, it's one of the ones where it didn't bother me because I was so engrossed in the storytelling, I was so engrossed in the
Yeah.
characters that it didn't bother me. Like you don't always have to have the shock and
Right,
to
right.
enjoy it. And that's like one of the, I think, of the great things of the Mystery 101. So once again, I think that just contributed to this Mystery 101 vibe for me.
Yeah, and plus you may know who it is, but like you want to know why and you kind of want to know what happened. So there's still like intrigue there. And oh my God, was Carson like the worst actor on the planet? Like
Yeah.
he was like, no, I didn't know he was missing. Like I could have done a better job.
Yeah.
But
He
I
was
feel
not,
like that was on purpose, maybe, or I don't know.
I'll say, I thought, yeah, he was probably the weakest of the actors. Cause I thought overall, like, going back to what you said earlier, Skylar and Evan were just both, I thought, fantastic. Fantastic. One of the things, by the way, when we were talking about the Kara and the mystery of, when she turned out to be the murderer, I found it very interesting. And the empathy of this young Aurora, where she like gave her a hug because she knew she wasn't a bad person. She knew she was doing this from love and this,
Yeah,
the sense of protecting her brother. And so she like hugged her. It wasn't like, oh my God, you threw someone over the balcony, you're terrible, go, you got to go to jail. She really felt
right.
like a moment of compassion for her. And then she's like, okay, haul her away. But,
Yeah,
regardless, she was, I find that very interesting because she was, when she looked at Matt and the way she was protecting Sally, she's like, really, you want to go through to the wedding? So it wasn't like she was
yeah.
just like overly huggy. So I just find that a very interesting, tender scene.
No, yeah, it was good.
So was the body count there?
I'm gonna say the body count was two.
Kind of like when we watched the Jane Mysteries, that the dead body was years ago, but still counted as a dead body.
Yeah.
So okay. All right. Now this is gonna be a fun one. The style of the movie. You kind of were a little bit unsure of some of the style as far as
Oh, just because time
time period,
wise,
right?
yeah, yeah. But I liked it. The style was really good. I mean, everyone looked really good. I mean, Aurora had great dresses. She had a great coat. I loved the green. It almost seemed like it was the green coat that was worn in mystery cases of Mystery Lane.
Well, she also had the green coat. Or excuse me, she had the green
Yes.
coat and the mustard coat. She had the mustard coat at the end.
Oh, she had the mustard at the end? I
Yes.
missed that.
Or the
Uh,
the whole, climatic ending at the marriage place. She was wearing the mustard coat.
okay, I
And
missed
she
the
looked
mustard
just
coat
as good
then.
as so the interesting thing is the green coat, and this is what I had in my notes. I thought with her red hair, she had like a red sweater or something underneath, but that
Uh-huh,
green
it was
coat with her
pink, yeah.
hair
Yeah.
just really popped.
Yes, it's a
So
good for redheads, a green color is always very good. And I think that it was also super funny to see that she used her bulletin board as like her clue board because I don't know any girls who didn't have a bulletin board like that growing up where it was all like ribboned across and you could stick your postcards and your concert tickets in there. And
wait. I don't know any girl who didn't have a murder board up on their wall.
yeah, I mean, I have one right now.
And you have your
Right.
suspects, up there.
Yeah.
By the way, another look of hers was, and it's the kind of the one that they used in a lot of their publicity, was that striped sweater with
Yeah.
the jeans. That was fire. That look, that was fantastic.
But did you notice how in the promos they used a light colored jacket and then when she wore it in the movie it was with a like an actual color in the sweater that it was like a darker one.
Yeah. So
I
they
felt
felt.
like the jacket in the movie looked better with it, which is why I'm
Oh,
saying
you're
that,
right. It
but
had like sort of a tan. in the promo stuff, right?
In the promo, it was almost like a blush. It was
Yeah.
hard to, but it didn't seem like as poppy as the one
It,
in the movie.
but it just seemed to be like a total sleuther look. Like she
Yeah.
definitely looked like a sleuther, I thought, in a lot of her outfits.
Well, it was very in keeping with the colorful Aurora Teagarden wardrobe, which I really enjoyed.
But and this is what Madison told us is
So
she switched from the sweaters to the jackets.
yeah, right on.
No cable knit sweaters.
Nah.
You know what's funny? In one of the Facebook groups, someone said Skylar looked dowdy. Would
Oh,
you
really?
even slightly think of that as an adjective? Like, even if you didn't say, oh, I didn't like her, she was too tall, because I think Aurora should be, shorter, like, you know, CCB
No,
or whatever. But dowdy, I mean, I
I
thought
don't
she
think she
was
looked dowdy.
rather striking. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I thought that she was just very, very, her style was great. Arthur,
Yeah.
what do you think about Arthur?
Well, Arthur was kind of like, he was wearing his uniform most of the time, and his off look was good too. I liked him at the was it the rehearsal dinner or was it
Yeah,
the engagement? I don't know, but it looked good. It was like a nice suit, and yeah, I think he looked good. What about you?
I agree. And I think our friend Steve Basic, Detective Cook, I could see him having, like, that shirt from J.C. Penney, and, the polyester blend tie with maybe like a little bit of a coffee stain on the wrist, or like he
Stop
looked
that.
he looked like a detective. Like,
He was
I don't
wearing a
have
leather jacket
I'm
in the
too
beginning.
busy. Wait, he didn't have a leather jacket, did he?
Yeah, when he first was on the scene, and then he
Oh,
says like, why don't you escort Miss Teagarden
right.
away from here?
But he just, like I say, he just looked like a detective. I'm too busy solving crimes to worry about, what I'm wearing. So I
Yeah.
thought it was good. It, like, totally fit what you want from him.
Yeah.
Now, what do you say we get into rating this movie?
Let's do it.
Steam meter. How steamy was this
Steam
movie?
meter. I gave it a 5.
Wow, you're too higher than me.
Well, I gave it a 5 solely because of that car scene, because of when what's his face
Uh,
rescues her
Daniel.
from the oncoming car, and then Arthur gets all like, oh, I love you, Aurora, but
But
we're just friends.
at the end, yeah. Well, see, that's any of the steam that maybe was building just gets let out because,
I
like,
know. I'm
can you
I'm
believe this?
clinging.
Can you believe this, Arthur? Daniel thinks, like, you want to ask me out. Too weird. We're just friends. Got to go. Bye. Come on, Arthur.
Yeah, get it
But
together, Arthur.
okay, speaking of steam meter, so one of the knocks on this movie, a lot of people are saying, oh, well, what's the point? Because you know that she doesn't end up with Arthur.
Hmm.
Does that bother you? That, like,
No,
why
I want to
why would I
see.
invest in their relationship if they're not going to end up together?
No, I want to see the romance. I want to see I want to see the young detective Lynn swoop in and stomp on young Aurora.
So one of the things in the book where I'm at right now is there's Robin Caruso is the mystery writer who Aurora kind of gets a little crush on, and she smooches him, and she's like, ooh, I got flustered. But then there's Arthur, who did not go to high school with her, but he is the local detective. I think he's a little bit older, and he's also a little, like, definitely not Peter Benson. He's like a little more like Steve Basic, I guess, kind of
Oh,
character. But then right before I had to quit tonight, he gave her a kiss, and it was a heavy, passionate kiss that she was
wow.
feeling in her loins. So
Oh
the book's a little
no.
the book's a little racy. It is a little racy.
Wow.
So, but yeah.
It's getting crazy in
So
Atlanta.
yeah. So in the book, she goes for the has the two different love interest there. So it kind of has this here with Daniel and Arthur. We'll see. So yeah, I only gave it a 3
Yeah.
just because it's not a knock. It's just where it is in the story, right?
Right.
She's just focusing on her school. I don't know if I have time to date. There wasn't really part of it yet. So, but it definitely, that last scene laid some groundwork between Daniel and Arthur.
Yeah.
All right. The story.
Story, I gave it an 8.
I gave it a 9. Thought it was
All
very
right.
good. I thought it was great. Sort of getting this backstory on Aurora, seeing her, just graduating school, where they work, and it had a couple lines in there that I wrote down. One of them, and I'll paraphrase, is Sally saying, "Never talk about Matt again," which is like, from people who have talked about or who watched the Aurora Teagardens, of which you're one. Like, that's one of the things I've heard is Aurora or Sally never has this like even mention of the serious relationship. And right there, she sort of set it up for all the future by saying, we're never talking about Matt
Oh,
again. So therefore, that's why you never in the future ones hear about her murdering husband.
yeah.
So,
Very nice.
and Madison just can't help but kill people. Gosh, man. I talk
Yeah.
after I watched it, I sent him a message. I'm like, seriously, you kill again? Gosh.
Such a killer.
And then where was my line?
He's a killer cutie.
Oh, the other line is when Aurora's talking to her mom and she's like, Aida's being something about like, be careful, don't get too into this or
Oh, yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And she's like, I don't plan on making a habit of this sort of thing,
Yeah.
which I thought was just a very fun line because, as we know, there's 17 future episodes at least of
Yes.
this. So she definitely makes it a, a habit. So once again, I found like a bunch of little things in there, just very cute. I thought the story overall was good, and it told obviously had some like weird consistency things, but all in all, I really much enjoyed it. So I gave it the 9.
Okay.
How about the mystery?
Awesome. Mystery, I gave it a 7.
Yeah, I gave it a 7. Why were you a 7? Because the predictability or what?
I felt like it was really good. It just wasn't one of my, it was just wasn't like the best, So it deserved like a higher ranking than just in the middle because there was thought to it and it was interesting, but it just wasn't like, oh my God, earth shattering.
Yeah. It's like, no, have you had a chance to catch up and watch Dancing Detective?
I have not. Ever
Okay.
since getting YouTube TV, I gotta figure out all this stuff.
You're gonna need home. Well, I just switched. Ironically, I switched to it last week too.
Oh,
But the mystery in there just didn't really make sense. Whereas this
okay.
one, like to your point, it did make sense. It just, like I say, it wasn't like the overall most intriguing. Like, wasn't the most intriguing thing in the movie. The story was much
Right.
more intriguing, I thought.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Where will you lay out the acting for this one?
I am at an 8.
Hey, I said an 8 too. Now we're aligning.
This
And
is good acting.
I thought so too. And if it was, like I say, there's just a couple of those other characters, like unsure about Sally, and as you said,
Carson.
Carson. Yeah, and like they kind of just brought it down a little bit. And
Hmm.
I don't want to say Mary Lou's acting because it was the role she was given. But once again,
Yeah.
I just didn't see her being weak, didn't see her being insecure. So,
Yeah.
but if it was just going off of the big two, it would have been a 10. I thought
Totally.
those two were great. Okay, style.
I gave it an 8.
Ooh, I beat you. I guess Steve Basic and his coffee stained sleeves, I was a little more impressed with than you. I gave it a 9.
Well, sometimes you have to beat me.
The the yeah, like I said, I thought Aurora was just perfect throughout it, and I thought the other characters were all very appropriate. So
Yeah.
I had nothing against it. What do you total up to?
I total up to 36.
I totaled up to 36. So that's got to be
Oh
what,
my
70,
God.
72. We got there a little different way, but so
Yeah.
72. Um, I would say we probably both agree that pretty
Pretty
good
good.
first one. Could couple things could be a little bit better. So here's an interesting thing, by the way, is the same writer, Tina Booth, wrote all the other Aurora Teagardens, wrote this one.
Oh, nice.
So it's not like the person who wrote this didn't have a complete understanding of the Aurora Teagarden character.
Yeah.
So I think, and then what's her name? Charmaine, whatever.
Charlene Harris.
Charlene Harris is also executive producer. So she's, I'm guessing, pretty involved. So I don't like anyone who wants to complain and say, oh, they're ruining it or they don't get it. I think they definitely had an idea of who these characters were. And this is my little rant I went on our Instagram of they're just young people. They're at a different point in their life. They're going to be very different. And I thought they did a really good job of, like I said, they understand. So no one can claim like, oh, hey, whatever writer came in and just change it. Kind of like, the Murder She Baked going into Aurora Teagarden. They have different writers now, so it has a different feel. But
yeah, totally agree.
My little rant, getting us soapbox, sorry. Riled up.
That's okay.
All right. Well, that's about it. Anything else we need to talk about tonight?
No, but my parents just got back, so
Uh-oh, we better get going. The parents are in the house. Sydney is on her curfew.
Oh my God.
Oh, guest appearance. Fantastic. Well, because Sydney's parents are there, let's wrap it up. And as usual, please tell a friend about the podcast. Help us keep growing. Help us keep getting these Hallmark lawyers, mad at us. So we appreciate it.
And I deeply apologize for this background noise that's probably getting captured by this lovely microphone.
It's awesome. It's okay. Until next week, Sydney.
Until then, Eric, I will see you.
And you go enjoy your family.
Goodbye, go have some In-N-Out. Okay, bye.